All right, we're starting the next one. This one is Matt from Banxa, who you lead U.S. partnerships, correct? Yeah, U.S. So probably talk a little bit about how integrated with the graph, but what's important is the credit card, bank account, and just Web 2 style SaaS experience, which is so important for getting everyone to have a seamless experience in Web 3 infrastructure in general. And it'd be great, and we'll probably ask some questions about who you're working with now, and then how this is kind of protocol and a little different shift, and then what that's looking like. So I'll pass it over to you.
Thanks, Kyle. Hi, everybody. My name is Matt Potter. I am the U.S. business development lead for Banxa, and we are one of the premier fiat to crypto on and off ramps, as Kyle had mentioned. And today I'll be talking a little bit more about how fiat to crypto on and off ramps can help bring in more enterprise businesses and more users into the crypto space. So I've really got kind of two parts of the presentation today. I'll talk for the first half about Banxa. I'll give you a high-level overview of who we are. And then for the second portion, I'll talk about OpenRamp, which is our solution that we offer, that we work with the graph on, that allows users to interact with smart contracts directly with fiat currency, so credit cards or debit cards that can interact directly with smart contracts. So first half will be a little bit more about Banxa, and then we'll go into the OpenRamp solution. But Banxa's mission is really to bring as many people into the crypto space as possible. So we're talking about merchants, we're talking about end users. We want to make it as seamless as possible to get into crypto and get into Web3. Our company started in 2014, so we've been in the space for a long time. We started as a crypto-first company, so we were not a fintech company that got into crypto. We were a crypto-first company. Our founders were actually based in Melbourne, Australia. They started as a Bitcoin mining company, realized how hard it was to get users into securing digital assets, being able to use fiat currency to buy digital assets. And so they shifted kind of the focus into fiat to crypto on and off ramps. And here we are roughly 10 years later still providing that same service. So we've been around for a very long time. We've got obviously great partnerships with the Graph, with Arbitrum. I mean, you name it, we're working with kind of the who's who in Web3, whether it's decentralized exchanges, wallets, gaming apps. We're providing services across the board. And so the company is still headquartered in Melbourne, Australia, but we've also got offices in Sydney. We've got offices in the Netherlands. Here in the US, our main office is in Reno, Nevada. I'm based in Portland, Oregon, so took the early flight out here, so still working on some fumes. But yeah, we've got about 200 members now at a global level. And again, we're providing the easiest way for users to get active in the crypto and Web3 space. And the value that we're providing for our partners and for builders is really our payment network. So we currently offer support in 140 plus different countries where users all across the world can access digital assets through Visa, through MasterCard, through Apple Pay or Google Pay. So we've got that available across the globe. The additional value that we offer, though, is providing local payment networks. So for users to be able to use their local payment method, particularly in countries where there's not a lot of credit card penetration, or there's some barriers to entry to actually use a credit card to purchase crypto, we offer what we call alternate payment methods or local payment methods in a variety of different countries. So we've got great coverage in Europe, in the UK, obviously support in North America. We continue to expand into Latin America and Southeast Asia. That's a real focus for us for the end of this year. And then we'll eventually, Q4 of this year and then Q1 of next year, move on to Africa. So we're going to try and get as many local payment methods as possible so that your users have access to be able to enter into the space. And in terms of our product set, we're really known for our on and off ramps. That's kind of what we've been known for in the industry for the past 10 years. But we provide a couple other different solutions as well. One of those is an NFT checkout solution where users can purchase NFTs using a credit card or a debit card. It's kind of similar to the OpenRamp model that I'm going to talk about here, where we abstract away the complexities of purchasing an NFT, having to buy a specific digital asset and then interact with a marketplace. We can actually do that on behalf of the end user just by entering their credit card information. And then we also do, they should say token listings, but paid integrations. It's where if you have a native asset that you're looking to get out there and allow users to be able to purchase it in a more seamless manner, we can provide those services as well. We've got a lot of great relationships across the board that can help with that. We don't do that so much in the US anymore because with everything going on, I'm sure you guys are all aware of that, but on a global level, we can still provide those services too. So we'll move on to the next. And this is just kind of an example of the user journey. So it's a very seamless kind of workflow. We want to make it, again, almost like Web 2 centric for users, that they feel like they're interacting almost with an e-commerce site when they're purchasing digital assets. So it's very straightforward, very simple. Banxa handles literally everything from accepting payments to KYC to fulfillment. We do it all. So it's kind of a one-stop shop for our partners that utilize the service. And I think I'm on a little bit of a lag. There we go. And so from the integration side, it's, again, we make it very seamless for users to be able to purchase crypto, but for our partners and our builders as well, we want to make it very simple for them to plug in the Banxa ecosystem. And so what that looks like is we've really got two separate options. We've got the full API integration, there we go, API integration options that can get as detailed as you want, passing information back and forth, or we've got very simple referral method integrations as well. So for our partners that just want to allow their users to be able to purchase a specific asset, they don't want to have to go through a huge integration haul, take weeks or months or whatever it is. We can set up a very simple referral method that provides all the same resources that an API integration would, but it's a lot less dev heavy. So, and then from a user experience, and this will be my last slide on the Banxa stuff, and then we can get into the OpenRamp stuff. There's really three different options from a user experience. So there's a custom checkout option where you guys build out the complete front end, and basically you're just plugging in Banxa's Rails on the back end to be able to accept payments and provide digital assets or NFTs or subscriptions or whatever it is that the application provides. That's typically reserved for our largest partners. The embedded checkout or the iframe widget is probably the solution that most people are familiar with. It's a pop-up within an application that allows the user to do the same thing, purchase an asset, go through KYC if necessary, receive their currency. And then the final one is just that button redirect. If you wanted a very simple just buy button, you have that option. So that's it from the Banxa side. Now I'm going to talk a little bit more about the OpenRamp side, and I'm going to pull out some notes on this. I know this is typically a product team conversation, and so I want to make sure I don't miss anything on this. But the OpenRamp solution is something that we built in response to requests from our partners. So our partners like The Graph and other groups that are looking for a way to pull in as many individuals, as many enterprise businesses into the ecosystem. And so with that in mind, we created something called OpenRamp that really abstracts away all the complexities of transactions that happen in Web3. And so we wanted to make it as simple as possible for users to use a credit card, to pay for a subscription, to set up reoccurring payments, to buy NFTs. I talked about that a little bit. And so that's the solution that we've built out with the Graph, where users can go in and actually top up their wallets, interact with the billing contract from the Graph directly just by inputting their credit card information. And I wish that I would have set a demo up in this so you guys could see it. It makes a lot more sense if I could show it to you. I'll try and illustrate it as best I can, but if you want to talk to me after the conversation, you want to see an example, I can show you on my phone, or I'll get your information and send it over to you. But it's a pretty cool tool. So the real goal, our thesis is that real innovation can only be achieved when merchants and individuals get the same kind of experience that they expect from Web 2 in Web 3. So that's kind of our goal on what we're trying to achieve here. And we know that crypto presents kind of a new form of economics and a new model that is more fair and inclusive than the old form. And so we want to pull all these enterprise companies and all these users into our ecosystem. We want them to plug into our ecosystem and start using what we're doing. And so you guys are the ones that are building the most important part of it. You're building on the three pillars of crypto that we all kind of know and believe in: the decentralization aspect, the permissionless aspect, where anybody, regardless of geography or status or opportunity, can come in and have access to these financial tools that are so important for everybody. And then the composability side, like what we're doing here we want to make it very simple for you guys to be able to build on top of it, not necessarily to need even permission to be able to do it, but just to be able to go in, grab what we offer in terms of the fiat and the licensing and that types of stuff, and be able to plug that directly in to your solution. So we're excited about that. We think we can unlock a number of things, but we also know that we face a lot of different challenges with the crypto infrastructure, and that's kind of what we're trying to address here. So here's kind of what the value chain looks like today. We're trying to get mainstream users over to our distributed services, but there's a lot of disparate systems kind of at play here. UI, UX can be a problem. Even many like crypto regulars still struggle sometimes with the solution set and trying to figure out exactly how to get through a transaction. We know there's value. We know there's multiple application layers that can support what we're trying to accomplish. And what Banxa's goal has really been is to marry the fiat layers with the contracting layers. And that's what this open ramp solution looks like. So what does that mean? It means that we can unlock, through the new open ramp solution, Banxa can provide a way to bring traditional payments experience into Web3. So the user only needs to interact with their fiat method of choice to be able to interact with a smart contract. There's no complexity. There's no needing to understand how to purchase a token from a DEX that can sometimes be confusing, how to interact with a wallet, how to approve a transaction. It's all abstracted away, and it's all completed on the user's behalf. So this is kind of the model that we are in today, where the agent would be the user. They're depositing funds, they're buying the native token, they're navigating through a specific dApp, they're trying to execute a transaction. Sometimes it may be very simple to understand, sometimes it can be pretty complicated. We think that there are some limiting factors to this. And because wallets can disintermediate the dApps, because sometimes they can be not as seamless as possible, we believe that that actually pulls enterprise businesses and many users away from the Web3 ecosystem. We think that we could bring more enterprise businesses into crypto infrastructure if we made it more seamless. And so the other issues is that a lot of the large organizations that we are talking to want a way to make things automatic, don't want to have to sign a bunch of different transactions, don't want to have a single employee that's doing that. And so we're trying to expand the scope of what's possible with this new open ramp model. And so this is the open ramp model the workflow looks a little bit like this, if it goes through. It'll get there, I think. We good? There it is. So yeah, so in this scenario, basically, Banxa is abstracting away a lot of the issues that are the confusing aspects of what happens when you're going through a transaction. So this is exactly how we've kind of set things up with the graph. We can abstract away all the complexities of multi-step transactions and allow users to make a purchase, to sign up for a subscription, to set up reoccurring payments, all in a single transaction. And so the only thing that the original user really needs to know is how to pull out their credit or debit card and input that information. So we can do the rest on their behalf. And this is kind of the current state of what Open Ramp looks like right now. I'll talk a little bit about the future state and how it's even more exciting. But we think that this does a number of things, that it's going to open up bigger markets for Web3 in general. And there we go. Oh, the only one having problems with this. Okay, so yeah, we do think that it will open up a lot bigger opportunities across the space. So now we can tie fiat funds directly into contract logic, something that couldn't be done before, something that we think is very, very exciting. We're separating the storage and signing duties, so it creates a new model. There are certain use cases that we believe in right now, and I'll talk about a few of those here at the very end of this. But I'm sure there's a lot of use cases that we haven't even considered, that builders like you guys may be considered, may be able to figure out different use cases for this that could also be exciting. So we're pretty pumped about that as well. And so how it works, like the getting set up, it's pretty straightforward. You basically need to open a Banxa account. You pick from the available networks and the native tokens that you're looking to provide. You provide the contract details in a few different sections there. You send us over the audit report, and then Banxa reviews and publishes the connection for you. So this is kind of where the future state lies, where instead of Banxa submitting transactions, on the end user's behalf, we're going to open this up so that you guys can just connect directly to it. And so the future state is where instead of Banxa providing the custom logic to interact with your smart contracts, you as the dApp creator can simply input the required code as part of this product and allow direct access to fiat interactions. So we're super excited about that. We're super excited about the possibilities of what that could entail. And you're just taking this a step further for the use cases right now. We're already finding ways for our partners to set up recurring payments to support long-term business growth. We're doing variable payments. So if, for instance, a user wanted to DCA dynamic investments into a specific application, they could do that. It didn't have to be set at any given specific time. I already talked a little bit about this, but like NFT checkout, where users don't necessarily have to understand everything about the NFT marketplace. They just have to have their credit card or debit card, and they can make a purchase that way. We've had a lot of interest from game developers as well that want players to be able to come in, just play the game. They don't want to have to worry about buying the native token and figuring out where to put it and do all these different things. They just want a user to be able to unlock what they're trying to unlock and do that simply with a credit card or a debit card. So we've got a lot of interest there as well. And then kind of the final use case is a lot of DeFi applications have also asked about this, where like liquid staking, for instance, if somebody's going to be rewarded for staking a certain asset or providing liquidity or whatever it is, instead of having to go through that sometimes complicated process of buying the specific currency, staking it, receiving the synthetic asset, we can just do that on their behalf. All the user has to do is buy that initial digital currency. We'll do everything else on the back end. They'll receive the synthetic asset, and it's good to go. So we think that, again, the opportunities are really endless. We're trying to build unique features that can support the growth of the ecosystem, that really can allow enterprise businesses, more users to come into the space and have a seamless experience, an experience that they would pick up from an e-commerce company, or they're setting up their utilities and just putting a credit card in and just having things work for the next year. That's kind of the end goal and where we're going. We are so excited to have a partnership like The Graph that's doing some really unique things, and where we can provide this service for them and then kind of build and tweak and do the different things that need to come from there. So that's it. I wish that I had something to show you guys in terms of it in actual use, but I do have that on my phone, so if you want to connect later, I can send you an email, or we can connect after the show.
All right, let's give him a round of applause. And it has been great working with you all and understanding how flexible you were, and just the amount of currencies and things you were able to do is really important. One thing I have a question on is, and it's probably not for you, it's more like your legal team or something, but obviously things are restricted right now in this space, and as this lead, what do you think would need to happen for this space in this region to get comfortable doing this? Is it just clarity, or is it something else?
That's a great question, Kyle. It is clarity, and this is definitely a better question for legal than for me. But it is clarity in that there's too many unknowns right now, and we're hesitant as a company with, being publicly traded. We're publicly traded on the Toronto Stock Exchange, having these licenses, all these different things. We're hesitant to make the wrong move and get in trouble and kind of lose some of the momentum that we've gained over the last 10 years. So that's probably the biggest piece. We are, like I mentioned from the very beginning, we're a crypto first company. We're not a fintech company, so we want to do these things. It's just, we've got to be careful at the same time. So it's kind of that dance. Hopefully, if we do receive some clarity, over the next few months, there'll be a lot more options available to us here in the U.S.
Hey, so I'm curious to know, would you say then that the regulatory legal side of things is harder than the technology development of your products? I mean, is that the limiting factor when thinking about expanding to new countries that have different local providers, means of payment?
Yeah, that's also that's a really good question. I do think it's more the regulatory environment than the technology. So for a lot of the on-ramps, we've built, you know, the technology to be able to accept fiat currencies. The difficult part is getting the right licenses in each of these different jurisdictions. That's really the hard part, because every, you know, specific country has different licenses, different things that you have to do. That's the really hard part. And part of our strategy as well is that we go to each of these countries, we spin up an entity, we create banking relationships, we do all of that work. We're not, I guess we quote unquote do it by the book. So that part takes more resources, it takes more time, and that's really the hard part. We know that there's a gap in some of the countries where we want to provide support. It's just kind of a time thing. The technology's there, it's just the regulation is still a little cloudy.
When you think of the game aspect that you mentioned and people not wanting to do that, it makes a lot of sense. Is that always on the supply side, or meaning the actual app or a company doing it, or is there something that you can do for individuals where they can plug and play and go wherever they need to? How does that integration look?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of evolving. It's interesting because the product team, you know, they're having conversations every month to kind of like, where's the puck going? What kind of things do we need to do? And so that is something that we're always considering. I don't know if it's a supply constraint specifically, or if there's, you know, it's just the build out and the resources of the integration. We can only pick and choose so many things to do, right? So I think that's probably more the limiting factor than anything else. We can do a variety of things, but it's kind of like narrowing the focus, not trying to be everything to everybody. Just we've got to find out what the right solution is and be able to build that out and make it seamless. So
Sure.
Yeah.
Any other questions? All right. Thanks, Matt. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you. Appreciate it.
Oh, one more.
Hi, sorry. When it comes to onboarding new users, do you also think about account abstraction?
So we do. There's some things that we can't abstract away, unfortunately, like the KYC, for instance. So, you know, there's a number of things like we try and make it as seamless as possible when onboarding new users. So we actually have released something called KYC free tiers. So if there's a user that's making a deposit that's less than $500 USD, we don't have to do full KYC on that user. They're still gonna have to input some information, but we're not gonna ask for the selfie or the identification. So that's a small piece of it. We're trying to get even better than that, where, you know, there's always gonna be certain things that we have to do. But the KYC, and we can see this from like transactions that start to transactions that finish, the KYC part is the one where most people drop off. So we're constantly trying to improve that as well. And there's, you know, the KYC free tier is the first part of that. There's more stuff that we're working on, but again, it all comes down to regulation. We got to play by the rules in a lot of ways. So good question. It still can be a little tough for users to onboard, but we're trying. We're getting there.
Thanks.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.